Hi, my name is Heather Scroggins, and this is the assessment module for my secondary student. Mark C. is a 15-year-old male student who is currently in the 8th grade. He is currently served in the special education self-contained classroom and receives 75 minutes of direct instruction daily in all subjects, reading, math, and written expression, as well as vocational skill training. Our district provides vocational skills for students in the junior high and up as part of their transition plan. Mark C's last evaluation occurred on November 27, 2017. He was evaluated in all areas, including adaptive behaviors, intelligence, achievement, curriculum, as well as occupational therapy and speech therapy. Let's see. The first test we'll talk about is his intelligence and cognition test. The RIAS-2 is used in our district, which is the Reynolds Intellectual Assessment Scale, 2nd edition. It is designed to assess intelligence in major components. It is administered in pencil, paper, and oral form. The assessment is divided into 3 parts. There is a part for intelligence, a part for memory assessment, and a part for speed of processing. This test is developed to assess ranges of 3 years to 94 years. The following were Mark's scores on this test. In his verbal intelligence, he scored a 40. The range of average intelligence is 85 to 110, so anything below that is considered below average. And his verbal intelligence score was a 40, so it does fall in the below average range. His nonverbal intelligence score was a 77. It is higher than his verbal intelligence score, but it does still fall within the below average range. The composite score for his intelligence quotient, or what we would call his IQ, was a 51, and a 51 does fall in the below average range. The report indicates that Mark struggled the most when he was having to give oral responses to questions, which is why his verbal intelligence score is lower. He had difficulty answering questions that included vocabulary, knowledge, reasoning skills, fund of information, and analytical reasoning. He performed better with nonverbal responses that measured just general reasoning skills. His academic achievement testing is the WIAT-3. It is a standardized comprehensive assessment that measures academic achievement in people ages 4 through 50. It assesses listening, speaking, reading, writing, and math. Scores are age-based or grade-based. The following is a breakdown of his most recent evaluations. So his reading subtest, I should tell you, the WIAT scores are the same as the RIAS scores. So anything from 85 to 110 is considered average. So any scores that fall below 85 will be considered below average scores, and those scores would qualify him for special education services in those areas. In reading, his word reading score was a 67. His reading comprehension was a 75. Pseudo word decoding was a 78, and his oral reading fluency was a 66. This gave him a reading composite score of 69. His mathematics, which is below average in the reading area of reading. His math subtest scores: numerical operations was a 50, with math problem solving a 67. His math composite score is 58. These are considered below average scores in math. His written language subtest score, spelling, he had a 66. In sentence composition, he had a 60. And in essay composition, he had a 57. So these did fall below the average range in all 3 areas. Based on his most recent scores, he is functioning below average in all areas. He scored higher in the areas of reading comprehension and word decoding, and it was noted throughout his file that he is very good. He can read, and he can tell you what he reads about. He does struggle with writing and the mechanics of writing and grammar, and his subtest scores show that his essay composition score was a 57. For his social, emotional, behavior, and adaptive skills, our district gives the Burke's Behavior Rating Scale 2nd edition, which a home edition is done by the parent and a teacher one is done at the school, and it will show it looks at adaptive skills, behavior skills, and functioning and emotional and social skills. So this one is given to school-age children or preschool children through 12th grade, and it scores the following scores were the composite scores between the two. The original test document was not in his file, but there was a composite score because this was tested in October of 2014 and was not reevaluated in 2017. So the original testing document is not there, but there is a composite score between the home and the teacher test. So in conceptual understandings, he had a 69. In social skills, he had a 72. In practical skills, he had a 72. And his overall composite score was a 67. The range is still there, anything below an 85. And so he falls actually in the first percentile rank of adaptive social and emotional behaviors. He has low to moderate behavior issues in social and practical application of those social and emotional skills, but he does have significantly low scores in his conceptual understanding, social and emotional behaviors and things like that. For speech, the following assessment was administered: the TOLD I-4, which is the Test of Language Development Intermediate, 4th edition, and the CLEP-5, which is the Clinical Evaluation of Language Fundamentals. The TOLD I-4 is a standardized assessment of receptive language and expressive language skills for children between 8 and 6 and 17 and 51. All subtests have a mean of 10 and a standard deviation of 3, and your average scores are between 7 and 13. On the TOLD test, Mark scored below a 7 in all areas: sentence combining, picture vocabulary, word ordering, relational vocabulary, morphological comprehension, multiple meanings. He did score below average in all those areas. The greatest difficulty is being able to verbally express what he sees in a picture. So we tie back to that we have difficulties with verbal response. The other test, the CLEF-5, the ranging between 85 and 115 is your average scores. These are these test receptive and expressive language, but he did score below average in all areas on this test as well: listening, organizing language, speaking, using grammar correctly, semantics, and spoken language. So those scores indicate that he is below average in all areas of expressive and receptive language, which does match up with his IQ. He also has classroom observations that were done, and in his classroom observations, his strengths were that he remembered what people say, he can put events in order when speaking, he can use complete sentences when talking, he can be understood when he's speaking, he does not omit sounds or substitutions or anything like that, but he does have difficulty, this was in the area of communication, I apologize, paying attention, following oral directions, asking and answering questions. In mathematics, he had been introduced to almost all grade level standards, but he was not making any progress or proficient in any standards that had been introduced. He is operating about 3 grade levels behind, so they are currently focused on 5th grade standards as opposed to 8th grade standards. They're building off the Common Core standards up to where they need to go, but they're focusing on lower skills right now. The same is true for reading and written expression. Curriculum, classroom observation checklists did not indicate that we are making any progress in any of the grade level standards at this time. He also receives occupational therapy, and the BOT-2, which is the Brunick's-Oster-Teskey Test of Motor Proficiency, 2nd edition, and it does show that he is below average in all areas with the exception of fine motor integration, and he was very close to being below average in that area as well. Those scores tell us that he has difficulty with his finger grasp to hold a pencil. his difficulty with his balance and coordination. So based on these assessments for Mark, it is found that he does have a below average IQ, and he is functioning below grade level on all his achievement tests. He has receptive and expressive language skill deficits, and based on the information given, it does show that he has a higher nonverbal intelligence than he does of verbal, so he is able to do things in writing, but he has difficulty answering you or responding orally to questions. So his diagnosis is other health impairment. Some background information: he does have obsessive compulsive disorder and has a seizure disorder, along with a cognitive functioning deficit. So based on the results of his test, they do confirm what his diagnosis is, and they do warrant special education services. The special education services he is receiving in our district, if you are functioning 2 or more grade levels below, then you do need a more intensive set of services. So a self-contained classroom is the proper setting for him that he needs to be in at this time. Thank you.